This is Chad Prento coming to you from parts well known, and this is Stone Soup Poetry. Some of you are listening from the East Coast, the West Coast, the Spanish Coast, and whatever coast you are. We welcome you, and we welcome Doug Holder, multiple time feature at Stone Soup, an organizer of Stone Soup at one point, and multiple time feature when I was first starting out with Stone Soup and taking the reign from Jack Powers, who founded Stone Soup in 1971. And since 2020, Stone Soup has been a largely online entity with hopes to change or vary at some point. But until then, it's my job to try and document as much of Stone Soup, this ongoing living documentary, which now has a home on YouTube and other archives. Not to mention the archives that Doug Holder helped to keep up, not just for his own Ibbotson Street Press, but also as an organizer of Stone Soup and even a publisher of Jack Powers. So he has been around. He has been around for a very long time. One of my earliest publishers as well, through the Ibbotson Street Journal and Ibbotson Street Press, has been putting out books and implementing and publishing and hiring a lot of my past friends, relationships, and poets who have seen their names through the journal and its many other side iterations like Singing Bone Press and what have you. Boy, I have an archive, as does he, and I'm sure he'll go into that a little bit. His latest collection is the Essential Doug Holder, which is going to be followed up in a few years with the very optional Chad Parento. Just kidding. But we do have an open mic, as is Stone Soup's tradition, as Jack Powers would have wanted it. We do start with the open mic and then go to the feature. I appreciate everyone who stays to hear the feature, even after you have your turn, as is the norm with Stone Soup, because we are good folk here. And starting with the first of the good folk to get us going and get us into a good spirit, let's welcome up live from New York. It's Patricia Carrigan.
Hi, yeah, I'm not canvassing today. Rainy weather. Okay, thank you, Chad, for publishing this on my birthday, and it's your birthday. So happy birthday to you. It's called Invaders from Space. Very political. On January 6, 2026, a spacecraft landed on the New York Stock Exchange, as well as on the Federal Reserve and other major banking institutions, even on the White House lawn. Others were spotted over London, Paris, Geneva, Beijing, Dubai, and more. Cupcake legions in green pinstriped liners wore pistachio buttercream helmets sprinkled in sparkling money symbols. They ran out of resources on their planet due to money laundering, greed, and war. Their planet suffered from extreme climate change. Temperatures rose, the air and land too fetid, their ice caps melted, the seas and rivers disappeared into canyons, their planet uninhabitable. They had to move underground. They needed our greenbacks to save their planet, make it flourish into the cupcake paradise they once knew. The invaders also had maps designed like Monopoly game boards and exited the buildings with money bags that were taken to their ships. They found Elon Musk, who recently returned from Mars and went mad on Bitcoin and Tesla weed. As he was taken to the ship, he kept reciting identifications of various Social Security and Medicare MAGA recipients and other high-profile people, including Trump. Emperor Trump was next. Inside the mothership, the Donald, dressed in an orange diaper, sat in a corner labeled "Go to Jail." He couldn't pass go or collect $2 million because he was unable to contain Elon's chance. He punched him in the nose. Trump missed his Diet Coke, McDonald's Big Mac and fries and whined all the way to Cupcakia. He threw tantrums every night, outdoing Elon and other world leaders, bankers, CEOs, and politicians. On Earth, it rained gold and silver for 2 days. Earth's ecosystem was eventually restored. Human rights became everyone's rights, and peace of mind conquered the world. Amen, a women. Blue, blue.
A true new hope. Thank you, Patricia. Up next, you never know who's going to be number one, who's going to be two or three or four, or even the next to last. Usually know who last is going to be. But for now, our second person is going to be Jen Campbell.
Thanks. Much in the theme probably of the night, this is also political. Laws are like liquid glass, ready to be permanent and yet broken, coalescing into systems fragile and beautiful all at once, beguiling and mysterious, opening doors onto civilization. Can we crawl back from a broken edge? Can we make do with tattered bits? Can we lay in whispered tones? Can we bend if asked politely? We will give to our last breath. We are the tattered ends of democracy. We are the people that remember. We spoke in pubs at night without a care who whispered or listened. And now babies are ripped from mothers' arms in Newton. Will a tank roll down my street next week? So to be better for the price of gas and the lower cost eggs, I will hand over my freedoms. The law is a wilted ball of glass ready to form. That's it.
Thank you, Jen. And now for something completely different, I'd like to bring it over to Mr. Bill Lewis.
I knew you were going to choose me because I can understand. I like to have this thing with the Ramdonator 5000. So I knew I was going to be number 3. Ah, my friend had his homeless protest on the State House steps and nobody came. Every single leftist group that I contacted, that he contacted, nobody came. A few people showed up, and yeah, it's getting really depressing. Nobody gives a flying F about you once you're homeless. And it was really painful to try to help this guy and give him advice and keep saying, but all these people said all these good things and never did anything, so I'm complaining. Let me read something which is a little bit on the other side of the world for this. I got the kids. Dozens of kids, maybe hundreds, all excited and running and laughing and splashing. Kid heaven, and it was all mine. I'd been to the opening of Artbeat Friday night when it was announced that they could use a few extra volunteers the next day. Super, I was new to Somerville and wanted to get involved. So I came early and got assignments to assist with the dunk tank. They told me some friends from the Department of Public Works were running it, and the leading lights of Somerville would be getting wet for charity. His Anna was even going to do a dunk. Woohoo! Arriving in place, there were no DPW directors to report to. There was, however, a parent who already had set his kid on the seat and several youngsters eager to start throwing. No time to lose. I checked out the equipment, drafted a parent to organize the donkeys, and got the throwers in line, and we were off. With me as cheerleader in front, the parent in the back, and Jared on the wet seat, the balls came flying. Little Annie, 6 years old, was eager to toss. That's Jared. Do you want to get Jared wet? She laughed and tossed, and Jared went splash! Wild applause erupted, and Todd was ready to throw. Then Jane and Lucy and a kid in a Red Sox cap. You look like Kurt Schilling! Now, Manny! Man on fire! And Jared comes splashing down again. He splashes, scrambles back up, and incites the growing mob. Let me see a wind-up. You call that a wind-up? Come on, swing those arms. A giant wind-up, and the pitch goes clear over the backstop, and everybody laughs. Jared with the trooper did like 45 minutes. A few other preteens joined him in the lineup. Look, you got a dry one. You get the drunk and die one. You're on drunk Nathan. Let her rip. All this time, half of my mind is focused on somewhat suspect seat latch. Calmly and clearly, I think, I make sure that the parents, I keep drafting new parents as the old ones drift away, keep small fingers out of the latch where it might get crushed. And then I go back to my part, dancing and cheering and yelling, you call that a pitch? You should play for the Yankees. Everybody chants, ah, Dunk William, and in he goes. A girl recognizes me and waves wildly, telling her friends that I'm her substitute teacher, who is so much fun. I hope that's what she was saying. I'm still paranoid about that lash, trying to keep it under control as the kids are crowding up to be next. And if splash after splash, I try to be careful, but oh, it is so hard. Say hi, Josh. Say bye, Josh. Splash. A couple of grown-ups do a dunk each, but it's the kids who are running the show. It's totally intense. I'm backing the kids, bringing up the little ones forward. The tiny ones are too small to dunk. I pick them up and I help them push the button and dunk somebody anyway. At 4, the crowd dissipates. I drop the seat, disconnect the latch, and put up a closed sign and stagger back to report. I didn't really see much artwork and art beat. I did not hear a lot of music, but I sure had a fine time. I love Somerville.
Thank you, Bill. What do we follow that up with? Let's follow that up with a piece by Jan Rowe. Oh, huh. Still can't hear you. Even though you are apparently unmuted. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe try that. Anything? Hello? You might have to re-sign on because I can ask you to unmute again, but if you unmute and then I can't hear you, then all right, let's have you sign off and sign on again. We'll get somebody else. Yeah, I can't hear you. So we'll work on that. Where do we go to next? Oh, yes, let's go to Nike Truth.
Good evening, everyone. This is an older piece with no title, but it's got some decent bones in there. The dominant minority is a threat to the moral foundations of political correctness. Feminists, ethnic trash, white ring newspapers try to bring elite packs to threaten, crucial to gossip, private lives, bedroom activities, But most importantly, you must confront a profound discomfort and unease. That unease is rooted in your groin. The influence has been defined as the rage of the creative principle, the bonds, deconstruction of dualism, and so on. But let's get real. In public perception, sex is bad. It's always going to be bad. What an abomination. You first must break through walls of repression, all the condemnation and the shame that hide in our society. Include a full range of color of the objectified. Thank you.
Thank you, Nike. Up next, let's bring up Mr. Mark States.
Good evening. Consent. AI started summarizing my emails one day. Not every email, just some emails. Some summaries are silly, like a 2-sentence summary of a 2-sentence payment receipt. But one did try to tell me a friend of mine said I had to do things prior to an event that they had never asked for before. And I'd been to nearly 24 of these events and know they would not say that. This ticked me off. Just as a couple weeks prior, an AI note taker in a job meeting put some uncomplimentary words in my mouth about a coworker that someone else said, not me. This was like shoving a firecracker in each of my ears and lighting the fuses. Just ignore them, some say. It's not that important. You shouldn't be getting upset about something little like that. Well, let me misquote what they just told me and watch the fireworks explode out their auditory canals. But anyway, just like any other gaslighting bully, these AI summaries are in your face. An authoritarian figure telling you what is real, despite the facts being there in the details they are encouraging you to skim over and not read thoroughly, like, we're too busy to have time for reality. You can't even have a talk with an AI about their behavior. Their cavalier, this is the truth because I told you it is attitude. You can't have a conversation with an AI summary in a feedback box, which some other AI bot reads but is not programmed to understand. No chat box, no email address or phone number to call to say, stop doing this. No means no. I did not consent to this. People say, you're overreacting. Just keep scrolling. But the annoyances build up. A mountain of 1,000 molehills is just as hard to climb or ignore, so you find a way to remove those AI summaries by doing an internet search. The solution lasts 24 hours. Then your AI summaries return, and you can't keep popping pills to ignore the headache, and it worsens, and then the stroke. Because the entitled technocrats do not understand no means no. They just construct a new default yes box somewhere else and keep on fucking you over.
Nicely done, Mark. Thank you. And I'd like to ask Kim Coveney if she'd be interested in reading. I can help with the, there you go.
I'm on the iPad, which is a little contrary.
Understood.
I wasn't expecting to, but I can read a recent publication here in, if I can get to it, in a journal in the UK, an online journal. Do you always have it just whoever shows up reads, Chad?
Generally, but if I see them read in the past, I'll assume that they have a poem.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is called A Couple of Sundays. I couldn't, when you were alive, rid the shed of the slaughtered chickens, your father shoveling them 2 by 2 into the compost with fistfuls of lye. The bantam pair missing, rooster and hen, small enough to be wormed out the way stealth had entered, under a door, through a keyhole. I couldn't, when you were dead, remove from the dregs of the plunge pool those sodden bodies, so unlike the fork-tailed pair, ripping seams in the departed afternoon. Was it a pact? Did one fall and the other follow? Have I failed you by standing here, dry and alive?
So much, Cam. Let's see. Oh, Jan, can you say something now? It's not appearing that you can. Yeah, sorry about that. You might have to have you as
if she
listener.
turns off her audio, maybe she can try it.
Turns off her audio?
Yeah. I'm sorry, her video. Turn
Her
off the
video. Oh,
Oh.
let me see if that works. Give me one sec. Oh, can you hear us now? Can you say something now, Jan? Oops. Looks like
Oy.
I hate when that happens. Sorry. Sorry,
She
Jan.
may-
Sorry, James.
She may have pushed the mute button on her keyboard.
That's the thing. I can tell it's not muted.
No, on her keyboard.
Maybe if you go to the audio settings and adjust the volume, hit the little caret by the little microphone on audio, and there's an audio settings on the drop down menu, and you hit that, and you might be able to change the volume of your speaker.
All right. I'll have, while you're playing with that, let's go now to Richard Spizak, the poet of Three Rivers.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. And I'm going to avoid politics carefully and read you a poem called The Mayor Storms, Not Storms, the Prison. It wasn't really in him. They said he stormed the prison. He'd come to see it several times, invited congressional leaders on his dime. He asked for a tour to check exactly what kind of justice did he expect. The kind that brown and black folks usually get when they bump right smack into somebody's security net. And this is a private prison contractor. He can tell you for sure that was a definite factor. He waited at the gate for permission to tour. He was told for a certainty they wouldn't demur if he'd submit to a search. It might take a minute, as if he was some kind of church, but he couldn't get in it. He was the black mayor of Newark, New Jersey. Of this they were clear. He wore a suit, not quite a clergy. Ras Baraka, let's call him by name, came to investigate Delaney Hall. He brought several congressional persons, and that wasn't all. It was once used to confine drug abuse, and there they kept quite a group of patients for healing had been the plan, but that was decades ago in the darkness of history. The facility was filthy, and what were they up to now? That's a goddamn mystery. They never bothered to get a CO because they didn't care to let anyone know. This for-profit making prison, the largest in New England, brought several congressional people as long as his wingmen. He ignored several threats, said the spokesman from ICE. He wasn't compliant, complacent, subservient, or even nice. Alina Habba, the former attorney of Trump, chimed in with her opinion, of course, on the mayor we knew she would dump. Her opinion Trump tailored. It had that sort of flavor. Habba said he'd trespassed, and that will not stand. Imagine having a press conference right there on federal land. If, as a citizen, that was really his business. So what happened when the mercenary cops got you in this? Representatives Watson, Menendez, and MacGyver were not arrested. Despite the questions the folks in charge had tested, they claimed the facility was fully permitted, that they wouldn't enlarge, it just wasn't in them. That's all they would say. They were fully committed. The city said they weren't, and then it just sitted. His arrest was based on that, the thinnest of tissue, the very essence of civic law, a permit at issue. The Insurgency Act of 1807 allows military to perform a sort of law enforcement as the president sees fit. Posse comitatus was fought over this. The president is grinning. He's really in favor of this sort of stuff. That countenance no inspection. They prefer doom, gloom, and then maybe later a resurrection. As if stonewalling won't work. There are phalanx of well-feathered attorneys will fight it, wasting buckets of taxpayer monies by day and by night. To deny justice among us courts a constitutional crisis. In service to would-be tyrants 2 or 3 beside us, on that you can place your reliance. It could happen to thee. Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
Thanks for keeping it apolitical. Very nice. Joy, I know you're listening and or watching. If you're interested in reading, let me know. For now, we're going to move on to Mr. Robert Fleming, or I should say Robert, quote, visual poet from Lewis, Delaware, unquote, Fleming.
Thank you, Chad. Can I share the screen, Chad?
Yep.
Thank you. So I'm going to have us do an activity which we're still allowed to do in the United States, which is to vote, but we're going to vote for art pieces that I need to choose for a women's art show. So for these show that I'm submitting to, I can only submit 3 works. So first, we're going to start with a human. I have 5 options. This is one of my models that I created starting from a photograph and turning it into digital art. These are 2 versions. Here are 2 more. And then this is the 5th one. And now here they all are on the same page. So what I welcome is either you putting your vote in the chat by putting number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you could unmute and say what your vote is. And that would be very helpful. Any votes?
2, 2, we want 2. No more 3 or 4. We want 2, 2, 2. Yay, 2s.
Thank you, Bill. I got 1 for 2.
There are plenty of votes in the chat, Robert.
Okay. So I will check those out. And then I also have some voting on a flower. These flowers are okay. So the left one is a petunia, and then the right one is also the same with more editing. And these are 2 tulips. So now again, we have voting on the flower, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Either you can unmute and say your vote or put it in the chat.
One looks cool.
You like one? Okay. Thank you. I will look for the votes in the chat. And it was helpful because I was uncertain of which works I should select to submit to the show. So thank you for your help. And just remember, tonight you've voted, and we're still allowed to vote in United States.
For the last time. I mean, thank you, Robert. Up next, moving down the reading pipeline, let us go now to Mr. John Wesick.
Hi. This is an argument against panpsychism called My Toaster Sings of Unrequited Love. If we could read electrons' minds, they would spiral into atoms' ground states like skyscrapers of gray flannel suits collapsing into basements packed with enough dynamite to destroy chemistry. Should an electron wear bell-bottoms or a paisley tie? Physics says the garment must remain invisible in emperor's new clothing of quantum mechanics. If science accepts undetectable bowler hats, then leprechauns store Guinness in alarm clocks, unicorns play tennis in spare tires, and my dishwasher plots humanity's demise.
Even though James is unable to join us, we do have other people to close out the open mic. And before we do that, let's have a little musical interlude with Mr. Ethan Mackler, if he is so willing. And he is, I think. Yep. Back to me indeed. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you very much. Looking forward to more Garage Poets news as the weeks progress. Up next, we have Marianne Honecker.
Yeah, I've got a piece here similar to the one I read last time. I think it might end up being a series. It's called Soul. The meditation leader says, imagine a ball of bright fire. I visualize the fire in my soul obediently. As a group, we released our balls of fire into the outermost heavens, another star. My soul was left charred, untouchable, tender, and smoking. Is it true that it is the only part of me that will survive death? All that pressurized pain exploding outward forever? The meditation leader said, let feathers fall through your body. I let them. One got stuck to my oozing soul. Now my soul thinks it can fly. I used an ethereal drill to make holes in it so the noxious gas could leak out. I turned my head so as not to inhale the fumes. It felt like popping an overripe zip. The pus liberated. I thought my soul should scab over nicely. I've started collecting plastic horse statuettes. I apply their beauty to my soul like a salve. Each one only works for a few hours, so I must buy more. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Going through the list, I see unfortunately, with James unable to join us this week. Sorry, James. We will have coming from West, Mr. John Roche. Ask him about his series of books, the Joe Poems, and the anthology Mojo, the Joe Poems anthology. John, welcome.
Thank
Great
you,
to have you close us
Chad.
out.
Good to see you and good to see Doug and everybody. Patricia, hey. Yeah, I got just a short one, recent one. What was that about no politics? That's all I'm writing. Anyway, this one you'll recognize the original. So much depends upon a red-cloaked, bronzed orange fool jabbering nonstop nonsense surrounded by millions of pigeons.
Thank you so much, John. I'm hoping to have more to announce in the next couple of days as Stone Soup gets its sea legs back and gets through the rest of May. Hoping to announce at the very least the closing poet who promises me their bio and photo very soon, and has actually been slated to feature for a while. They've just been taking a while for their new album to come out. New album, who could that be? Well, hopefully we'll find out soon. But for now, we have tonight's feature. Thanks to everyone who's come to Stone Soup Poetry tonight. For those of you coming here for the first time or first time in a while, yep, we're still doing this every Wednesday from 7 to 9 Eastern Time. Hopefully live dates to be announced sooner rather than later, before the collapse of civilization rather than next week. Let's hope for the best. Tonight's feature is Doug Holder, who, according to his boilerplate, is the founder of Ibbotson Street Press, arts editor for the Somerville Times, and on the board of directors for the New England Poetry Club, as well as the Friends of the Longfellow House. Doug Holder teaches creative writing at Endicott College and taught college writing at Bunker Hill Community College for many years. For over 30 years, he ran poetry group for psychiatric patients at McLean's Hospital and was the president of Stone Soup for 1 year back in the late 90s. His poetry and prose have appeared in the Lowell Review, Worcester Review, Rattle, Cafe Review, and many other places. The Doug Holder paper collection is housed at the University of Buffalo. His latest book is The Essential Doug Holder from Big Table Books. Now, I ask you all to put together your hands 40 to 60 times as I get to say for the first time in Stone Soup history, ladies and gentlemen, the president, Doug Holder. And don't forget to unmute, sir.
I want to thank you, Chad, and what a great job you've done continuing the Stone Soup Poets. I have a few words because my first poetry reading 40 years ago was at Stone Soup at TT the Bears. And Jack was, and Miss Stone, I can't figure her name, his girlfriend at the time, were very
Juliet Stone.
Juliet Stone were very, very supportive. And, after I got out of arts grad school, when I was probably in my 40s, I wanted to, I wanted to get involved in Stone Soup because I believed in their popular message. They included everyone. They had the great beat poets. They had the emerging poets. It was open. It was a word that is condemned today, inclusive and diverse. Jack had his own publishing house. He published all kinds of books. He actually helped me publish one of our first books by poet Linda Conti. And we had board meetings, and I remember, Chad, you were there at the board meetings, if I remember correctly, in the basement apartment. Remember, he had that little basement apartment on the north end of Boston.
Unfortunately, I was in Jack Powers' North End apartment, but unfortunately I wasn't at the board meetings.
Oh, I remember you there. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe my memory fails me. But anyway, it was in this great, this apartment, this basement apartment in the North End, the Italian section. And he had all these artifacts and papers and things like that from some of the great beat poets and all kinds of poets who passed through there. Jack would, and I use this phrase all the time now, but Jack always says that poetry was high holy for him. And, it was almost religion. I interviewed Jack a couple of times. They're online if you want to see that. And I remember once, he was a great influence, and I remember once, like an idiot, I turned him down because I had to work. I should have called him sick, but he invited me to lunch with Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who of course was very, they were friends, and I interviewed about his experience with Lawrence Ferlinghetti, but I didn't go to that lunch. Toward the end, work with psychiatric patients, and he was very good. They really liked him. So it's a great organization, and it's great that Chad has kept the flame going. So I'll read you a few poems. Just a moment. I think I'm up on it. And this one, well, since I'm a great fan of Bob Dylan and Samuel Beckett, I wrote, I ain't gonna wait for Godot no more. He's a half hour late, and when the rooster crows at the break of dawn, I'll be gone. I will sport my battered bowler, I will do a sprightly vaudevillian shuffle, and continue to stumble on this earthly floor. I will take comfort with friends, the golden stare of my ginger cat, a wet lick of a chocolate truffle, and take my time going to that so distant shore. I ain't gonna wait for Godot no more. There is some vague sense of promise in the breeze. He may have something to say that I will adore, an insight into my plight, but I won't sit still and wait for his chill. I ain't gonna wait for Godot no more. Am I real? Sometimes I wonder. I feel like the mist, a transitory ghost that dissipates into the ether, a trail of vaporous cigarette smoke. I feel like an empty glass among cups that runneth over when the clouds roll in. I want to join them. I want to billow far above and far away. Kraft's Last Tape, which is a play by Samuel Beckett where this guy reviews his life that he kept on tapes. You know, he's sort of like a recluse in a furnished room, and he just keeps going back to his life when he was younger on these tapes that he've kept. And so I sort of, when I lost my wife, Diane, I sort of felt that way, still do to a certain extent. Kraft's Last Tape. I am the widower who stares at framed pictures and talks to ghosts. I am an aging man who hears voices in the cracks of the floorboards. I am Kraft's Last Tape, a spool that is constantly rewound to a fleeting moment when her eyes opened and she let me in. So anyway, I was speaking to Lloyd Schwartz, who's a poet hero I know, and we were talking about the Yiddish theater, and he told me he went into the New York graveyards of, and he saw like these Yiddish people who from the Yiddish theater had these like ornate, they were like billboards for plays. They're the cemetery stones, and so I wrote this, and I remember that Yiddish theater was, from what I heard, was very interactive. In other words, people would yell at the actors and they'd yell back at them. It was very, especially, back in the early part of last century. So this one is Hamlet at the Yiddish theater. Sometimes I just want to yell at him, the poor man's Laurence Olivier. Get a job, through his thick existential fog. Such surus, enough already, at his dramatic angst. You think you had it bad? To be or not to be? If that's the question, then make a decision, they say with derision. A father might have yelled, as mine did to me, you'll be a drifter, a luftmensch. Well, at least I would be free. Some mother might have espoused a maternal cliche. You are 30 years old, you have your whole life ahead of you. And this Yiddish Hamlet might retort, and that's the problem. My whole life is ahead of me. When it is all over, then the fat lady sings and sings. I read something in the New York Times about this exhibit, and it was a balloon with the artist's own breath, so I had to write a poem about that. On the museum wall, appointed next to a well-hung gray duct tape,
Looks like he froze.
I think you're right.
Hail
Hey!
to the chief!
Hey! The crisis has been
Hail to the
averted.
chief!
Thank you.
Doug is back. Let's have you get back to the poetry.
All right.
It's totally smooth, as if nothing happened.
I love animals, pets and dogs and all that stuff. And I read a compelling story in the Globe about a dog digging up his master's grave. One might think it's just a dog, digging up a long-lost bone, but he is at the base of the tombstone, barking at the dates of birth and death. The pores are now blurs. This dog makes the earth move, his nose drip, as if to water something that will never come to life. He wags his dead-end tail, trying to sniff out a scent, his cheap cloying aftershave, that cocktail hour whiskey he liked it neat. The dog, in frustration, gnashed his canine teeth and falls asleep right above his master's splayed and decomposing feet. I love, of course, Death of a Salesman, great play. And so at times, I think we all feel like Willy Loman. So here's a poem I wrote. I hear my wife say, attention must be paid, as I carried my heavy bags, each bag weighing down my round shoulders to her face. They love me in Somerville, I said to myself. The wind's hollow howl, the cat's wide-eyed shock, his questioning meow as I went out to a 5 a.m. cold. I had my shoes shine the other day and pressed the threads on my threadbare jacket, ready to blast a smile on my tired face to shoot the same old shit. Another round of pitches, bombast, and bluster for a few brittle bones. Sometimes those voices reappear. My father grabbing his morning vodka from his icebox. I think I failed you, he said, captured in dementia and maudlin. It's another night with Canadian Club humming under my breath to Chet Baker's Let's Get Lost. My cat pounces on imaginary prey, and so do I. I sip, and my night will slip to another inevitable day. Let's see what we got here. This was an art teacher that I had in elementary school, Mrs. Plant, and I guess she had higher ambitions, so she wound up as as an art teacher in her junior high school, and I imagined her as being a young art student. So anyway, this is it, Mrs. Plant. As an art teacher at our elementary school, her face a painting that she worked on for a long time, an angry mask of red lips and rouge, disappointment sinking her cheeks. She passed the mimeograph sheets. At night, I imagined she sat with an arthritic cat and a shot glass screaming at the reproductions on the walls. Did she recall when she was clad in black and oh so tragic and enigmatic, taking feverish notes by the paintings on the Martin's walls, walking back to her cold water flat, sketches, a love note stuffed in a pocket of her winter coat. Let's see. And I'll end with this one. I met Allen Ginsberg a long time ago, and I've always been influenced by Allen Ginsberg. And a lot of the beat poets, used to eat at Bickford's and stuff like that. So I wrote a poem, "Eating Grief at Bickford's," which was a line from Ginsberg, I think in Kaddish, and I wrote a poem about it. Anyway, there are no places anymore where I can sit at my threadbare table, pick at the crumbs on my plate, and wipe the white dust from my pitch black shirt. The old men who used to spart Marxist rants from the cracked porcelain of their cups are gone. The boiling water, ketchup soup, the mustard sandwich they used to relish, all that so lean cuisine. Oh, hunchback in the corner, your lowly reflection in the glass of water. And Tennessee Williams Blanche eyes me through her grilled cheese. Pass the sugar, she teases. Maynard, the queer late night security guard, his policeman's hat draped on his head looking like a sacrilegious rake, his countless renditions of defending his honor, and the amorous crazed embraces of muscular young men, how he protests. Too much. To the discarded men, blue blazers shedding their threads, outcasts with newspapers, stains of baked beans on their lapels, fingers of a piece of passionless cod, lulled by their own murmur. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thanks for mustering up the power and the will to come back and finish the feature for us. So, what is your next book coming up, sir?
I'm working on something. I hope to have it out this summer. Yeah.
Is it a chapbook or full length?
I'm thinking chap. It's been, it seems like everyone's putting out 9 books a year. I haven't put out one since 2020, so I figure it's time.
Well, I wish you luck with that, and I hope we get to see the cover for that soon. And I hope Ibbotson Street Press continues its good work for, well, at least 5 decades to come.
I don't know.
Let's give you some rest.
I'll be 70 next year, so I have to live pretty long. So I don't know.
Well, let's hope you do.
I just really love this reading. Thanks, Doug. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're going to read more. Can you read one more?
You want me
I
to
think
read
you
them
just
all?
got a request for an encore, sir.
Absolutely.
If you insist.
Encore.
If you insist. This was at actually Stone Soup Poets way back. And it's at the reading, young poet. She illuminated the dark bar like the distant pristine light from the mar of a cave. Her expression, practiced, dramatic, but every so often betraying herself with a nervous tick, a flutter of eyes, an awkward positioning of her legs. She talked of making love, as if a new discovery. He feels her crevices. She is he, or he is she. Couplings in small rooms of old Cambridge Victorians. Cigarette smoke, lipstick traces, romantic places, half-empty glasses, the lingering scent, remembered words, phrases. Looking at the audience, her body willowy, graceful, her face impervious to the revealing glare of the spotlight, her hair dropping down her shoulders looking like it was glazed with honey. From the old corner, an old woman lifted her head from the rim of her shot glass and cackled, breaking the spell. What's the big deal, kid? Any 2 dogs can do that. That happened in at the Stone Soup. Thought it was great. Yeah. Thank you for your enthusiasm and yes, and thank you, John. I hadn't seen you in many years. I was in one of your Mojo thing anthologies.
Yeah, and we did that Hugh Fox tribute in Somerville quite a few years ago.
All right.
Right. And my friend Joy is here, which I'm thankful for. She's at the New England Poetry Club. I don't know if
Hi, Joy.
Yeah, but
Hi, everyone.
yeah. So
I'm so
Nice
glad you were
meeting you.
here. Thank you, and hope you come back again, Joy. We're here every week.
Thanks.
Tried the veal, and we'll have more features to be announced for not just May, but for the summer as well. Thanks to Doug for a wonderful reading and for coming back. It was great to get him as part of my ongoing archive of Stone Soup Poets. It's much harder to get the archives from the past up because it's all in mediums and devices such as CDs, DVDs, VHS.
we have a series. We have
What's
a
that?
series of interviews that we did some years ago. Remember, it was like 4 parts. Do
Oh
you remember
yeah. I still
Yeah.
that's actually up on YouTube.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that, but it's always good to get to document the people who come to Stone Soup every day, every week, and to have their voices archived for all time. So thank you guys for being a part of that process. Thanks to Doug for being a part of the process this week. I hope you come back again soon. And we're, like I said, we're here every week. And thanks to everyone else who's been coming here, if not every week, at least whenever they can. We're going to do the obligatory wave. I'm going to catch myself smiling because I seem to be morosely waving lately. So I'm forcing myself to. So thank you guys for coming. And next week, The feature will be announced very soon, I hope. Sorry, Jan and James. Hopefully, we'll get you next time. It's the internet, but we will talk to you soon, and we hope you enjoy yourself. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Take care of somebody else if you can, and stay alive till next week. And I'll try to do the same too. Take care and have yourselves a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
And thanks again,
Thank you,
Doug.
everybody. Enjoy. Stay safe.